You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
First, they said McDavid will never sign long-term in Edmonton. And then they said Draisaitl's leaving in free agency. And now they're saying that they only stayed because they're overpaid. They're moving the goalposts a lot. Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. Waking up this morning, remembering that Leon Draisaitl committed to the basically remainder of his career to be an Edmonton Oiler. It feels good. Waking up this morning and reading from Frank Saravalli that there is a 100% chance Connor McDavid re-signs with the Edmonton Oilers. That feels even better. Welcome into the show. We have a lot to break down today. Kind of the usual run of things after our surprise show yesterday at 8:30 in the morning. We'll do all the usual what's trending, giant question, give out a player grade for today. We only have like 2 more player grades to even give out, so that's timing out nicely with training camp just around the corner. We'll dig into what you're all saying in the chat as well. And of course, I have my pal Liam around with me. Liam's appearance on the show is brought to you by Star Mechanical. Check them out online, starmechanical.ca, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. Residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency repair. They do it all, and they do it all really well. Starmechanical.ca. We're not in the same room again, Liam, so it feels like you're on the Star Mechanical guest line. What are the vibes like in the office today?
Someone's moving something upstairs, and I think it might fall through. That's cool.
It's very loud, and we're the only 2 people here.
Yeah, so vibes. Got a lot of Will Hawk beef jerky in the fridge, so I am more than happy that nobody's here today.
I like the sound of that, and I'm regretting not coming into the office, but I have to go to the dentist today, Liam.
Good. What are you getting done? All your cavities?
I don't know if I have any, but I guess we'll have our answer to that soon.
You said your mouth doesn't hurt when you eat chocolate, so it should be okay, I think.
Should be okay. All right, let's get into things, Liam. There's a handful of different sort of topics I want to dig into today on the show. The title of the show is Breaking Down the Oilers Schedule. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but now I want to go back to the Draisaitl thing before we kind of shift anywhere else, because in the last 24 hours, we've gotten Leon Draisaitl's press conference. We've also gotten a lot of online reaction from Oilers fans, from different fan bases talking about this Leon Draisaitl contract. And it is pretty funny how quickly opposing fan bases and people on Twitter or X.com, how quickly they shifted from, Draisaitl's not signing in Edmonton. Enjoy this playoff run. Enjoy this run to the Cup final because you guys are trading Draisaitl in the summer. And then it was like, they're not going to get a deal done. It's September. Draisaitl's leaving in free agency, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as he signs, it is, oh boy, you overpaid him. Oh, you overpaid him. That's a terrible contract. Of course he stayed. You offered him more. First off, Leon Draisaitl, and someone said it in the chat, Leon Draisaitl could have gotten more on the open market. Like, do not let anyone get that twisted. If he goes out to the open market as a UFA next summer, there is some team giving Leon Draisaitl $15 to $16 million without a doubt. Opportunity to get a franchise level sort of player in your roster without giving up assets. Teams would have been spending like stupid to bring that guy in. The Oilers got him for 14. Did he take a discount? No, I don't think he took a discount, but he left money on the table, if that sort of makes any amount of sense. And Tyler Mulick sums it up great. I was also listening to Elliot Friedman's hit on Sportsnet yesterday. He says, I hate when people talk about AAV and not percentage. And that's bang on. From when the last round of superstars signed, the cap's gone up. So yes, Leon Draisaitl is the highest paid or highest AAV in NHL history. But by the time that contract kicks in, the cap's going to be, I think, right around $10 million higher than when Austin Matthews signed his shorter term $13.25 million extension. So you got to look at it from the perspective of percentages. And listen, it's still high. Like, I'm not saying it's some sort of deal, bargain, whatever. Like, it's fair, I think, very fair market value for Leon Draisaitl. But again, Liam, I thought it was funny to see the way that opposing fan bases have tried to flip the narrative all of a sudden.
Yeah, whatever makes him happy, I suppose, whatever helps him sleep at night. I just think, there's no debate when it comes to these superstars. Like, I don't think you overpay superstars. I think you just pay them money, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So when you get guys like Darnell Nurse, right? Guys like that, it's like, yeah, you overpaid that guy, or whoever else it may be. And I mean, how old will Draisaitl be when that contract's in year 8? 34?
Yep.
Something like that. Maybe.
Draisaitl, he'll be 37 or 38 when the deal's done.
Okay, so maybe at that point, yeah, you're looking at like Taves and Kane kind of situations, more Taves. But like, quite frankly, if they win a Stanley Cup, who really cares at that point? If they win 2, 1's good enough for me at this moment. But I just think when it comes to stars, every single team has them. As long as you can identify who the absolute superstars, the elite of the elite are, then you're gonna be fine. Like, I mean, you look at a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau, right? In Florida, yes, he was a very good player, and he had a great season when he came close to being he was an MVP candidate, wasn't he? Could have won, didn't win.
Yeah.
That's an overpay. Now he's in Calgary and it's obviously not working well. But that was clear that was almost like a bit of a one-hit wonder kind of thing. And I mean, look at Draisaitl. What's he have? 3 50-goal seasons and MVP. He's the best scoring forward in, the cap era in the playoffs, or close to.
Yep.
Overpay shouldn't even be close to this guy's name. Quite frankly, you pay him $20 million a year. I couldn't care less. He's good enough for it.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to where I wanted to go next. And a few people in the chat are getting into it here. So there's 2 sort of angles to look at this, because we had a comment here from Pete who said no hockey player is worth 14 million. And well, I can maybe look at that and be like, okay, yeah, like anyone making $14 million a year is insane. But if you have a gripe with a hockey player making $14 million, let me remind you, as Christopher Palmer says, the billionaires don't need to get any richer. The money is deserved for the stars. And yes, like if you have a problem with a hockey player making $14 million, then you should have an even bigger problem with someone who's rich enough to own the franchise that can pay him and a bunch of other people and still have a bunch of money left over afterwards. So again, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at a hockey player for taking $14 million when you can Google Daryl Cates's net worth and be like, maybe that's the bigger problem in this whole situation. If we want to take a look at it from a societal perspective, if we want to circle back to sports and not get too far off track and turn the chat into something we don't want to turn it into, we pull up Maynard Nugent-Spivey's comment and we say, the fact that Leon would be the 117th highest paid NBA player is redonkulous. And yes, Alan Walsh posting this, I believe Courtney Theriot did it as well, but he's now the highest AAV in the NHL. That $14 million would rank him 92nd in the NFL, 99th in Major League Baseball, and 117th in the NBA. For comparison, Major League Baseball, he would come in at that $14 million AAV, and it's actually closer to, if you truly sort by AAV and not what the player makes in a year, it's more down to like 111th, where he would be tied with Jack Flaherty, really good starting pitcher actually, John Gray, journeyman, Jorge Soler, bit of a journeyman power hitter, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Sean Manaea, who stinks, Will Smith, and Yoan Moncada, who also kind of stinks. Like, it's a bunch of NBA players who kind of suck and a few good ones, and Draisaitl's ranked all the way down there. He's the highest paid NHLer. So I don't really think you can sit there and look at this in any sort of weird way of like, oh, wow, the money's getting out of hand, because 1, someone can afford to pay them. Go have a problem with that guy. And 2, hockey players as a whole are still pretty undervalued, especially the star ones.
Surprised he's so low on the NFL list, if I have to be honest. I feel like there's tons of money there, but the problem with hockey is it's just not as established as those other ones, right? It's such a niche sport. Like, you look at those other ones, what was it? Football, baseball, and NBA. Like, anyone can pick up a ball whenever they want and just shoot it at something. But in hockey, it's just like so much more difficult to get there. So it's not a surprise it's so much lower. But the money side of things, like, it doesn't matter to any of us. Like, at the end of the day, like, he's going to get paid. He's going to get out there. And when he scores 50 goals this season, Pete, I think that was your name. If you're an Oilers fan, quite frankly, you will not care how much that guy gets paid. I thought he had a really good quote, actually, when he said the pressure. I think the pressure, the question was from Rashog. Yeah, it's like, do you feel pressure now to perform? It's like, it's not the pressure, it's the responsibility. And it just feels like such a Leon Draisaitl quote. He's just this cool guy, calm and collective. He doesn't really seem he seems very nonchalant sometimes, doesn't it? And I thought this quote really just pieced together what he's all about.
Yeah, totally. And another thing that really stuck out to me as I was watching along on the press conference yesterday is my heart skipped a beat, Liam, every time he used one of these two words, we and our. And I just thought that really kind of said something. And the context in which he used them was he referred to Edmonton a couple of times as our city. Like, we're excited to make Edmonton our home and it's our city and playing for our city. And we talking about the team, we love playing for Edmonton. Like all of the kind of we's and r's he threw in there is just, again, he said it on his Instagram post, loyal to the oil. He said it in the press conference. He could not imagine himself in any other jersey except for an Oilers jersey, drafted by the Oilers, only known one NHL franchise, like all of that stuff. And the buy-in and love he's had for the city. Like it really is unbelievable. Here's another quote from the Oilers. I don't know anything other than Edmonton. I feel super proud and excited to wear that jersey every single day. So it will be 18, 19 years of his career that Leon Draisaitl would have committed to the Edmonton Oilers at this point. So yeah, it's pretty great, man. It's really good. He said on Bob's show, it was always the Oilers. And yeah, like go back to what his agent was saying in the summer. Like there was never really any real speculation. I know like Grinelli, who we do love, and he put his hand up after and was like, I was wrong. He was big on that. He's coming to Boston. He is coming to Boston. He's coming to Boston. The Bruins are getting ready for him. There was that weird San Jose rumor that quite honestly never made a lick of sense to me. There was these fringe rumors, but there was never anything significant that for a second led you to believe Leon Draisaitl was considering being anything other than an Oiler. And you take that and you couple it with the words he said at his press conference, and it's a dude that loves Edmonton and it's a dude that wants to play here. And man, I know people like to pick apart certain things with Leon Draisaitl, but at the end of the day, having a superstar sit there and say, I'm good with spending my entire career in Edmonton, it's special.
It really is. There was something I was going to say, but I lost my thought. I had it in my head. Just on something on like his loyalty. There's another thing I had. This is the guy that played for the Prince Albert Raiders. This is the guy that like is kind of grown up in Western Canada a little bit. I mean, no offense to the town of Prince Albert, but if you can stay committed to living in northern Saskatchewan, then I think you can pretty much live anywhere. But here's a crazy thing, and I didn't know this. And this would have been wild. So in the CHL draft in 2012, the import draft, Draisaitl was taken second overall by Prince Albert. With the third overall pick was the Erie Otters. They took Oscar Dansk. Could you imagine if this is like, I'm glad it's happening now. Obviously, it worked out the way it did, but like we could have had Leon and McDavid in a junior team as well. It probably wouldn't have been as good, but I never realized how close that was. Ivan Barbashev went first overall, for people wondering.
How would that have changed things if Leon? I'll be totally honest with you. If Leon is an Erie Otter and he's playing with the young phenom of Connor McDavid, who again was putting up numbers in his draft, you'd call it draft minus 1 year, Draisaitl probably goes first overall, doesn't he?
Who went first that year?
Ekblad, Reinhart, Draisaitl.
I mean, probably pretty close, because I think like Reinhart, if I'm remembering correctly, obviously an elite player, but Kootenay was going on Memorial Cup runs, or at least winning the Western League or getting close to. So more eyes, like maybe McDavid and Erie with Draisaitl get across the line a little bit more and get more exposure. But yeah, that would have been crazy, because it would have been like, you wonder what Dylan Strome, does he go third overall? Like, how does that kind of work out? It's a massive ripple effect. Yeah. And it doesn't all work out with Knobloch anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kootenay was going on Mem Cup runs back then. They also won a championship with Chris Knobloch as their head coach back in 2011. And then he went on to Erie to win another championship in 2017 there. So everything is kind of connected. But yeah, I don't think we get Draisaitl at 3 if he ends up falling to 3 in that OHR in the CHL import draft. So that's interesting as well.
They would have played together that year because McDavid had exceptional status. 2013 was his rookie year.
They would have played with each other for 2 years.
Well, no, just one. Oh, yes, but that would have been their first year. His rookie year would have been
Yeah.
his first year too.
Yeah, it would have been Draisaitl's. Interesting. Connor would have gotten his Memorial Cup from Mulek. Yeah, that is one trophy missing. I
Yeah.
mean, that and the Rookie of the Year in the NHL are 2 trophies missing from Connor McDavid's cabinet. Sergeant Battle, all roads led to McDry. Absolutely. Anthony Usher says, delighted to know another Oilers sweater will enter the Hall of Fame in 15 years. Hopefully 2. Well, it's going to absolutely be 2 with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. They have already, without a doubt, in their careers done enough to be Hall of Famers. I think for Draisaitl, it's maybe just is he first ballot, or is he, if he wins a ring or 2, he's going to be first ballot. He's probably pretty close to first ballot already at this point in his career, but McDavid is already first ballot, obviously.
They both. If Shea Weber's first ballot Hall of Famer, Leon Draisaitl is the first ballot.
Yeah, Shea Weber has the international success though, which I think helps him a little bit.
Yeah, but Draisaitl won an MVP.
That's totally fair. Yeah, he probably is. I'm just saying, like, to be a stone cold mortal lock.
Yeah, he's got to win.
Probably got to win a little bit. But that's kind of next on the bucket list. Draisaitl's gotten paid. He's locked up. McDavid will get his deal when the time comes, 10, 11 months from now. And it's all about winning rings now for this team. And for Stan Bowman, it's all about figuring out how you're going to surround this team with with the right supporting cast. And he did talk about that yesterday. He was asked a couple of times, Bowman that is, during the press conference about just, again, does this $14 million contract hinder you? And Bowman, I mean, again, it made sense. It's kind of what a lot of people were saying, where it's like, listen, you can't replace Leon Draisaitl for $14 million. So you sign him for $14 million and you just figure it out, which is a question. Again, a lot of people were throwing out the combined cap hits of Bush or what Bush could be, and Nurse and McDavid. And, it's funny that it was particularly Leafs fans who were doing it as some sort of a weird deflection tactic, being like, oh, yeah, you laughed at us for our core 4 making too much money. Now look at yours. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl is a little bit different than what you got going on and cooking up over there, I think. And also, again, like, when you look at percentages of the cap, I just refuse to believe that the Oilers are in quote unquote cap hell. Like, you can sit there and look ahead to next year. If the cap goes up $5 million, they are going to have $15.6 million in cap space. So you sign Evan Bouchard, even if it takes you 10, your blue line with still $5 million in cap space, Nurse, Ekholm, Bouchard, Kulak, you have Brown and Stetcher all still locked up. So 6 defensemen under contract on the books, both goalies under contract and on the books. And in terms of your forward core, it's McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Kane, Nuge, Arvidsson, Henrique, Janmark. That's all, and Podkolzin. You already have 9 forwards. Add in Savoy, take $1 million off for his ELC. You have 10 forwards locked up with $4.7 million in cap space. You can go out and, hey, I mean, if you can find a way to move on from Evander Kane, we did this whole song and dance yesterday. Yes, the Yaremchuk math, it works, though. I think I got this one right. But if you can get out of Evander Kane, then you have money to go get a top 4 defenseman and still fill out the bottom parts of your roster. Like, you can make it work. So the idea that the Oilers are in some sort of super frightening squeeze against the cap or whatever, I just quite frankly don't buy it. A lot of their really, really good key pieces are locked up with term. That helps, man. When you have Nuge and Hyman as 2 bona fide top 6 wingers, throw in Arvidsson too. Those three bona fide top 6 wingers signed for less than $15 million per year combined. Throw in Henrique, $18 million between those 4. Again, really good column, top 9 players in the NHL. For that amount of money, that right there is what allows you to go pay your superstars what you need to pay them.
Yeah, and I think credit to Ken Holland for that too, right? For being able to lock up Nuge and Hyman for those deals and get in the deal you got for Ekholm as well. And obviously Bouchard, we got to pay him, but like, his contract is going to be awesome this year at $3 million. Like, so credit to him for that. But yeah, like you said, like, I'm just really not worried about it at all, about what you're going to have to pay. So those other 2 guys, and people don't want to give it credit, but we mentioned it yesterday. I do truly believe as guys coming up from Bakersfield that you can slide into this lineup in a couple of years and they can play on these entry-level deals, or at least close to, and the others will be completely fine. They're going to be able to attract these guys like the Skinners and those guys of the world. And who knows what's going to happen, right? Like, I know we don't really like the contract Corey Perry is on now, but when Corey Perry signed for the team last season, everyone was pretty happy that we were able to snag him. And Evander Kane, a couple of years before that, the year before that, whatever it was, like, things are going to happen that are unexpected, and it's going to benefit the Oilers, hopefully, in some way as well, rather than having the Jack Campbells of the world who you're paying and it's not working out for you at all.
100%. And those are the deals, like we did this whole song and dance yesterday, but like those are the deals you need to be scared of, is going and signing a Jack Campbell for $5 million and those kind of things. I had someone reach out to me in the DMs yesterday and ask, well, what about Stuart Skinner's next contract? And we did talk about it again a bit yesterday. A lot of this stuff, it's hard to predict. Oh, go ahead.
I saw Stuart Skinner today.
Where?
I won't reveal his location because I think he was just going to go for a quiet session. But I was out and about, and I saw someone pull out a Edmonton Oilers bag, and I thought it was someone else, and it turns out the mustache really gave it away who it was. Most people put those on for a disguise, not Skinner. He's fully exposed to it. But yeah, I saw him today. He's getting ready.
Interesting.
So guess where that was.
That's interesting that he goes. I just read. It's interesting that he's going there to work on his game, but
yeah, kind of a quiet spot, I suppose.
Yeah, which is why we will not reveal the location. Yeah, fair. I'm high on Stuart Skinner. I think he's going to be a top 10 goalie in the NHL. At some point in the next 12 to 18 months, he'll be widely considered a top 10 goalie. I think when the Olympics, I think even when the Four Nations comes around, he's going to be a guy who's right there for Team Canada. If you have to pay him $8 million a season, that's a good problem to have. If it's like, damn, this third-round pick, local kid turned out to be our franchise goalie and we have to pay him, like, shoot, oh no. It's better than having to go do the runaround of trying to find a goalie every 2 years. So, anyways,
I that high.
I think so. I mean, if that's, again, I am saying if here, like he's got to work out. He's got to be, he's got to take some steps here. He's got to iron out some of the inconsistencies in his game and those tough stretches. But still, like, I mean, I'm just gonna pull up the goalie cap hits quickly here on Puckpedia. But like, okay, Carey Price 10.5, Bob is 10, Vashy's 9, Hellebuck's 8.5, Sorokin's 8.25. Then it goes down to Gibson at 6.4. I know the Saros extension hasn't kicked in yet, but that'll be pretty high. Swayman hasn't come in yet. He's going to be around $9 million. So is it not fair to say, and maybe we can take Carey Price out of this and just work below, but once those other two extensions kick in, is it, if he's a bona fide top 10 goalie at 27 years old, is it not fair to sit there and say he deserves to be the 8th highest paid goalie in the league?
I don't know. I don't think don't think it's wrong, but goalies are just such a weird price, aren't they? Like, it took Saros a while to get his like big ticket. Thatcher Demko, it's a little bit different because I don't think they signed him to a bridge, but he's on $5 million. I wonder if it'll be like 6.5, 7. It's really going to depend on what these next 2 years are going to be. And if you win a cup and he's obviously good, then yes, he deserves to earn that money. And you can always find a cheap goalie. And like we talked about it yesterday too, of like the Tampa Bay model of kind of locking up those key pieces and figuring out everything else. And they locked up Vasilevsky. I don't think Skinner's Vasilevsky by any means, but we just mentioned the Four Nations Cup. Then the Olympics are coming. Like, is he not the front runner to be Canada's number one? Like, he very well could be. You do kind of pay those guys. So I don't really know. I've not put a lot of thought into it. It's just $8 million just seems like a lot right off the bat. But when you kind of walk through the process of it, it does make some sense. You're kind of just banking on him being good though. Which
and again, local guy who is what would he be again, 27 at the time? Like, maybe you can just go to him when that time comes with a bunch of term. And if you go to a guy who clearly loves being an Oiler, will have a chance to win here, is going to be committed to as the starter here at 27 years old, and you say, hey, here's an 8-year deal and here's $7 million to go with it. I would imagine he has a hard time turning down, what is that, 56 million bucks or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, 56 million bucks from his hometown team, guaranteed through the prime of his career. Like, come on.
Here's another wrinkle to it. Good. We'll call it a good wrinkle. One you can iron out. Darnell Nurse would only have, when that first year contract kicks in, say it's 8 million, 7, 8, whatever it would be, Nurse's contract would be over 2 years later. There's
Okay.
no
Again,
way.
there's always money coming off the books and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, no, not worried about it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of guys on the books when you look at it from
Mhm.
that point. Like Hyman, you still have a good deal. Kane would be gone either way, or his contract would be up.
Yeah.
Arvidsson, Henrique. Yeah, you've probably got some room. You're hoping those young guys can come through and help you pay those guys.
Yeah. All right, Liam, I wanted to get into something that our pal Jason Greger put up at Daily Faceoff. It is the most in-depth breakdown of every team's schedule that you will find. Head to dailyfaceoff.com to read the full story, but Greger just kind of did a breakdown where he put up every team's distance traveled, back-to-back games, facing a team playing on the second night of a back-to-back, which I think is maybe the most important of it all, breaking down all their homestands, their longest homestands, all those things like that. So if you head to dailyfaceoff.com, you can read it. You can see it right there. But I want to focus on what Greg's had to say about the Oilers and kind of where they rank, because their schedule it's not the kindest schedule. Being a Western Conference team, the teams in the West are all spread out more. So when you see something, their distance traveled this season is 50,000 miles. That ranks them 29th in the league. It's whatever that would be, third most distance traveled in the entire NHL. So that is significant. That is high. But again, it's not like these Oilers aren't used to that. Back-to-back games, they're 20th in the league. So they are close to the bottom third in terms of the number and volume of back-to-back games they have to play, which is, again, not ideal. But the one that I actually, again, really like, facing a team playing the second night of back-to-backs. Tied for 12th. That's in the top half of the league. To me, especially with this Oilers offense as good as it is, and again, a lot of those games are teams that have to travel and do the Vancouver, Calgary, then come to Edmonton to play them after. And I really, really think that benefits the Oilers a lot more than when you have to go to New York and you just stay in one hotel and you play the Islanders and the Rangers the next night, or you play the Devils and the Rangers the next night, or you're in PA and you're playing playing Philly, then you're a quick jump on a plane to Pittsburgh. Like, I do think these Eastern teams that have to travel all the way west, go back in the time zones and all of that stuff, I think the Oilers getting 13 instances where they play a team playing the second of back-to-backs is big. Their longest homestand this season is 6 games. It goes from January 21st until February 1st. Their longest road trip is later on in February, right at the end of the month. It's a 5-game road trip. So even their longest road trip isn't that extreme either. They have their home stands by games played. They play a 1-game homestand 4 times. They play 2 6 times, 3 4 5, and they do have the 1 6-game homestand in their season. If you look at the day of the week, they play 21 of their 82 games on Saturday nights, which is always a lot of fun as well. And Greger quickly throwing in sort of the quick or difficult part in their schedule. He said none of their back-to-back games occur on Saturday, Sunday, which is odd for Western Conference teams, typically going out, as I was saying, on those Eastern road trips. And this is another interesting part of their schedule. Their final 15 games are against Western Conference opponents, including 10 against Pacific Division opponents. So if you want to talk about a race for a division title, a race for potentially coming first in the Western Conference and getting home ice advantage through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, having your final 15 games of the season all be within your own conference is insane. Liam, anything stand out to you?
I actually like what you just said then. I misread the part of the longest road trip. I thought it was the homestand. I kind of wish those were flipped a little bit. Like you get that homestand towards the end of the season when maybe you're in a race for the division, you got a bit of momentum on your side playing those 5-6 games at home. But I'd be curious to see who those 5 games on the road are against. But yeah, to close out the season with all those Pacific games, I guess that's a good thing, because you're probably going to catch some bad teams, to be honest. Like Anaheim, Calgary, and San Jose might be 3 of the worst teams in the NHL this season. Seattle. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they get San Jose 3 times in the final 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
A very defeated team at that point, too, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Seattle, you got an idea. And Pacific's going to be, I don't want to
Dog
get
shit.
ahead of it, but it's going to be a breeze. You know, like 3 of the teams we already know are going to suck. Seattle have been in limbo, but probably have a good idea. And then LA, Vancouver, and Vegas will all be solid playoff competing teams. That's for sure. So
Yeah.
maybe the schedule's not so bad, but they have that weird one in there, don't they? Where they play Seattle on the road and then like 2 nights later they play in Boston or something stupid. Like that's just idiotic from the NHL schedulers.
If the Oilers are at a point late in the season where they need to go on a run and go like pedal to the floor again, I think that schedule at the end really, really benefits them. Their final 9, 10, 11, 12, their final 13, their final 15 games. I want you to count how many of these teams you think will be like far out of the race by the time we get to those final 15 games. All right.
Okay.
So
Right.
it goes.
Ready.
So out of the 15 games, Utah, Winnipeg, Seattle, Dallas, Seattle, Calgary, and then you go to April and it's Vegas, San Jose, LA, Anaheim, St. Louis, San Jose, Winnipeg, LA, San Jose. How many do we get that are out of the playoffs?
I said 9 games. And that was counting St. Louis because I'm bitter.
Oh yeah, they're gonna stink this year. So I'm with you.
Yeah, like obviously Dallas, so it won't be easy. LA, I'm going to assume they're fighting for a wild card spot.
Probably.
Vegas, obviously, I think Vegas could be the worst team in the league, and it'd still be a good game just with the rivalry they've built. And that's the same with LA as well, to be honest. So, yes, I like seeing those Anaheim Ducks masks. Can't wait to see Macklin Celebrini on April 11th. What's he do for the year?
That'll be like the Oilers won't see celebrating until then. One other thing Gregor pointed out with the schedule that I thought was really good. He said, quote, the NHL is talking about extending the season so they'll have an equal number of games within the division. So they'd make it, I think, an 84-game regular season, which is insane. Gregor says that works, but the easier change would be having 28 games in the division and only 22 versus the other division in your conference. It is odd that the Oilers play Vancouver and Calgary 3 times this year, and they also play every Central Division team 3 times this year. That makes no sense.
No, it's stupid. Like the point of these divisions was to create rivalries. And to be fair, it has done that like with LA and the Oilers and Vegas and the Oilers, but like everybody knows the Oilers' biggest rivals are Vancouver and Calgary, and we only play them 3 times. Like Calgary more than not. Like I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, since the BOA, we've had more than 3 games in a season against Calgary.
Correct.
Which is insane. Like that was such a fun series. I know it was only 5 games, whatever it was, 6 games, whatever, but still, like that sucks to play. I found out what the longest road trip was and who they play. You want to hear it? You're not gonna like it. Philly, 11 a.m. game on Saturday.
Hell yeah.
Washington back to back, 11 a.m. Then they have Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina.
Okay, so they got to do like the old Southeast Division road trip kind of thing. It's not a fun road trip at all. Remember they went through that last year, right at the end of November, and they had that miserable game against the Carolina Hurricanes when McDavid and Draisaitl tapped gloves on the bench.
But what happened the next game?
The game against Washington, that when you and I asked all the players at the Stanley Cup final, we said, what was the moment that turned around your season? It was that road game against Washington, matinee, 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. start or something like that. They won 5-0. Matthias Janmark gave a very passionate speech to the team. Draisaitl and McDavid stood up, said, everyone, we are turning this shit around right now, and we are committing to playing good defense. And from that point on, they were the best team in the league.
Yeah. So benefit them, I suppose. They'll have their reunion on February 23rd. Their 11 a.m. game against Washington.
I love a good 11 a.m. Oilers game. I know people or whatever, but like it's great sitting there with a cup of coffee, waking up and turning on an Oilers game. So good.
It is nice. It kind of feels weird when the game's done. You're like, oh, I have my day ahead of me.
Awesome.
Pre-gaming at 10 a.m. feels weird, but
That's fair. That's fair. All right, Liam, we got to get to a segment here. It is what's trending. You know what? Yeah, it's just what's trending. We don't even have a sponsor attached to it right now. That's wild. What's trending, Liam? Let's go through a couple of things here. Let's start with the hockey related stuff. Did you see the new Fanatics practice jerseys that the Oilers rolled out?
No.
Thoughts?
I
think that shoulder thing is so dumb.
Oh, I didn't even notice the shoulder thing. I was reading the property of Edmonton. What are they?
I like that.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
cool. Property of Edmonton. That's sweet. But like the shoulders, why? Why is there black on an Oilers jersey? I don't like it.
Yeah, maybe if they made it white and just kind of did the flip like that road one they have behind now, or the white one, I guess. I don't know. There seems to be a lot happening on that jersey for a practice jersey.
Yeah.
Property of the Oilers, I don't like that at all.
Why not? That's kind of cool. It's a nice
It
touch.
just feels like you're a child and you're gonna lose it, and your parents write it on there. Property of Tyler. Please
Property of
return to this address.
At least if they lose their practice jerseys, everyone knows where to send them.
Yeah, it's not for me. But I like what Rusty said. Arvidsson looks real good in Oilers colors. It does look. It fits him nicely.
Oh yeah, that is. There he is. Yeah, he does look good in Oilers colors. I like that.
These kind of look like the jerseys they sell in Walmart.
Yeah, a little
like
bit.
bad quality ones.
Mulick says it's because Fanatics has a new shoulder build technology that allows better mobility and durability. So there's the logic behind it, I suppose. But all right, sure. I still think it looks weird.
Technology and clothes, that just seems weird. Just give him a jersey. It's practice. We're talking about practice, people. Not a game.
What a game.
Not a game.
Speaking of jerseys, I mean, this week there's still a lot of Johnny Gaudreau tributes pouring in. I know some of his teammates, Boone Jenner, the captain of the Blue Jackets, they had statements and had a little like media avail, I guess you could call it, at Nationwide Arena today. Heartbreaking stuff to hear what they're saying about the Gaudreau brothers. Don Waddell, Blue Jackets GM, saying the entire team is going to be attending the funeral together. But Cole Caulfield announced this on Instagram. He will be changing his number to the number 13 in honor of Johnny Gaudreau. He talked about how Johnny was his hero growing up, loved watching Johnny play hockey, and actually this last spring got to play with him out at the World Championship. So again, like we talked about this yesterday at the end of the show. It's absolutely heartbreaking, and the tributes, like they're very, very touching. And I give stick taps to Cole Caulfield for doing this. But I was talking with someone the other day just about how still surreal this whole thing feels. And every time you see a tribute like this, or you hear his teammates talking or anything like that, you're just like, again, taken back to me like, man, I cannot believe that this happened. And I feel like we're going to get hit with another wave of this in a month and a half when the season starts too, and even more tributes start rolling in.
Yeah, truly. I think it's a nice touch from Caulfield. And I mean, kind of similar style of player, right? The undersized forward who very skilled, was probably told a million times that he was never going to get to where he wanted to go because of how small he was. And, you know, I was kind of thinking about this too, just more last night, I guess, just like kind of don't take these plays for granted. Like, I think we all kind of forget how good Johnny Gaudreau was until like this moment. Cause you know, he went to Columbus and you don't see a lot of Columbus games, but like, he was an amazing player. And I think this year when you go to whatever sporting event you go to, just like it's kind of take a minute to realize what's happening in front of you, I guess. Like we're so lucky in Edmonton, we get to watch the best two players in the world every night. But when other guys come into town, like if you go to a Pittsburgh game this season, like maybe watch how good Crosby actually is, you know, like just look at his numbers, like
Malcolm.
Yeah,
Appreciate
pay attention to what's happening in front of you. I know I will. Like when I was at the baseball this past weekend, like Julio Rodriguez was playing. He's one of the best players ever. And you kind of like just lock in on that guy a little bit more. And yeah, with Gaudreau, he was an amazing player. So yeah, I think guys like Caulfield, the reason they were able to get this far in their careers because of guys like Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, people talking about if the NHL will do like a league-wide patch for 13. I would imagine at the minimal they're probably doing a 13 helmet sticker for the entire year or something like that. But there's no way they don't honor him in some way. And again, this is Cole Caulfield. It's a touching tribute. It is far from the last we'll see for Johnny Gaudreau. Never easy to move off of a subject like that, but a couple of other things that are in the news. Wanted to give our friends over at What Chaos a shout out. They had not just Cody Ceci on, and I was texting with DJ about this when he was like, hey, we're having Cody Ceci on the show. And I said, you got to ask him how Hugo is feeling because he won't have a chance to repeat his title at the Oilers skills competition. They always do the pup race or whatever. And he said, don't worry, we've already requested that Hugo be in the interview. So you can, Cody and Hugo Cece were on What Chaos with DJ Bean and Pete Blackburn. A great interview. You should definitely go watch it. Check out our friends at What Chaos over on YouTube and hear what Cody Cece had to say about the trade and also what Hugo had to say about not being able to repeat in the dog race. Speaking of former friends, Tyson Barrie signed a PTO, and I think a couple of weeks ago we would have assumed, hey, is that PTO? That might be in Edmonton. It's in Alberta, but it's with the Calgary Flames. Obviously, Barrie hoping he can go to a team that, quite honestly, has a pretty weak blue line. And I think the win-win deal here is if you're Tyson Barrie, you're saying, hey, I have a pretty good chance to play here if I make the team out of camp and have regular minutes. And if you're the Flames, you're sitting there going, hey, if we give this guy $1 million and he comes onto our blue line and at the deadline he's having a good year and we eat 50% of it and we move on from him, we could maybe get a mid to late round pick back for this guy. So he's coming off a miserable season. He's looking to bounce back. And I think this is just kind of, this is a better fit than him coming to Edmonton.
I'm actually really glad he got something else that wasn't in Edmonton because it would not have worked. It would have been the same situation. I'm sure he knew that too, like from what it was in Nashville to here is what I'm saying. So I'm glad he went there because that Flames blue line, I don't think people realize how bad it sucks. People talk about the Oilers, oh, they only have 2 good defensemen. The Flames literally have 2 good defensemen who can play in the NHL today. The rest of them are just kind of mid guys. So I'm glad that kind of stayed away. Hopefully it goes well for him. There's a spot for him on that power play if he can take a hold of it. I have a what's trending topic if you want to ask me.
Sure. What do you got?
I saw Alex Pietrangelo at Disneyland.
And, well, that's not quite trending, but share.
It is trending.
Make it trending.
I'll be making a trend. So I was in the Disney Star Wars lineup. I can't remember what ride it was. The one where you go on like the spaceship and you're flying around. And I'm stood there, and all of a sudden, this big fella walks towards me with these 2 kids, and I'm like, kind of call him out this corner of my eye. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was Alex Pietrangelo. And I turned around, and it was Alex Pietrangelo. And so if you haven't been into this ride before, you do the lineup, and you go into like this big room, and there's one of those animatronics, and they're like, oh, like, thank God you're here to save the galaxy, blah, 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 blah. And he's literally stood right behind me, Alex Pietrangelo. And I'm like, do I say something? I don't know what to do. He was with his 2 kids, so I just left him alone, but I stared quite. So it was pretty obvious. And so the way this ride works was one group goes left, one group goes right. And he was stood directly behind me. And we were going down the left corridor, and right at the end, one of the cast members, the crew, said to him, he's like, do you mind going on the other side? Because you'll get on a bit quicker. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So he went to the other side. But if he didn't switch sides, he would have been on my ride with me. It was a 6-man ride. It would have been me, my dad, my uncle, and his 3 kids.
And
Isn't that crazy?
I told you to say, let's go Oilers to him.
I grabbed a lightsaber and I gave him the little hack. No more wrists.
You're running into a lot of NHLers in the wild, Liam. That is actually that's quite the coincidence.
I was telling my uncle, he lives in Atlanta, so not really a massive hockey guy, watches our show every now and then, but I was trying to like say how good this guy was. Like if that was like an NFL player, for example, of his level, there's no way he'd just be able to go to Disneyland for a day and just walk around. Like not one person said anything to him. And I saw him 3 or 4 times around the park, and he was just always on his own. Or not his own, with his family, just being left alone. I thought it was crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. Look at
There you
you
go.
running into stars. Okay, we talked about the Barrie thing. That's good. I'm just going through my checklist. Oh, speaking of what's trending, Liam, the Hawk Tua girl got a podcast. Do you care?
No, I muted her name on Instagram and on Twitter. Like, what is she going to talk about?
She started her hype video by being like, you all thought I was done. And I was like, what? I don't think anyone cares.
It's called Talk Tua.
Great name. To be fair, great name.
Good name. Good name. But also, like, I watched the podcast promo of it, and she was like, I'm going to be having real conversations with the most interesting people in entertainment. And it's like, nope, that's just the tagline for every new podcast that starts up. It's like, I'm going to have real It's like, yeah, nope. So, anyways, yeah. It's
So who's she doing it with?
just
Jake Paul.
herself.
Oh, but it's
no,
under,
he's not on it. He just owns the company.
Yeah.
and it's called Better.
That's
Yeah.
the company.
Better.
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 Okay, so this is dumb. I won't be listening, but it's not for me.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, she really made a 15 seconds of
She's
fame
doing a
into
great job
something.
of it.
Yeah, it is. That is fair. All right, there you go. That is our What's Trending segment for the day. Let's get to our Sherwood Ford giant question of the show, brought to you by, guess who? Our friends at Sherwood Ford. The Giant. Tired of dealership hassles? Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park is all about convenience. Upfront pricing with their new Giant Deal program. Get clear, no-nonsense pricing on new and used Fords online with all incentives included. Plus, enjoy the ease of mobile service, free pickup and delivery, and same-day or next-day service appointments. Liam, Tyson Barrie is off the board. So your question is there a PTO fit out there for you with the Edmonton Oilers, or should they keep their powder dry?
Well, I actually did think they were going to give Dominic Kubalik a go. I know there's not been a lot of rumors about that, but I just saw with Bowman, the Chicago connection, maybe he gets a PTO offer thrown in, but he signed in the Czech Republic yesterday. So see you later to that idea. I'm not really sold on any of these guys. Like, I do think they could use a little help on the left side. So, like, Jared Tenodi, maybe if you wanted to bring that guy in, but I'm also not too bothered. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say no. I don't think they should bring anybody in.
Yeah, like there were a couple of names I found like mildly interesting around the league, but not anyone that I want taking a roster spot. So
Yeah.
again, like instead of going and signing some vets to a PTO just to play them in preseason, I'd prefer that they give the kids as much experience as they can. Like instead of bringing in a righty, play Max Warner for 5 or 6 preseason games or something like that. Like why not? Mulek signing in Europe greater than a PTO. Yeah, I mean, get your guaranteed money. And also, if you take the PTO, you might have a harder time once the European season has started actually going over there and getting a job. So I don't blame any of those guys for jumping over to Europe and getting their guaranteed money. It's also better money than playing in the American Hockey League. So It makes sense. All right, there you go. That is our short for giant question. We are both out on PTOs for the Oilers. We are going to say that the Oilers do not dabble in that market. Player grade time, Liam, brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. It may be September, but you can still enjoy the outdoors with Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. A nice bike ride in the fall, made even more enjoyable on a new e-bike from Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Our player grade today is one Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Liam, Nuge had a bit of it is technically a step back from a couple of years ago. He went from 37 goals, 67 assists, 104 points. That fell off to 18 goals, 49 assists, and 67 points. But still, almost 50 assists for Nugent-Hopkins to almost crack the 70-point mark. I think you still have to give him a better than passing grade for how he did in the regular season. What the real fall off, like he scored 14 even strength goals. That's a little bit lower than what I'd like it to be, but the big fall off was really in his power play production. His power play goal total dropped from 15 all the way down to 4, and his power play point total dropped from 53 all the way down to 26. Liam, I give Ryan Nugent-Hopkins a B. What did I give him? B- for the regular season. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, I'm just trying to I think the one play that stands out the most, like I remember if it was in the playoffs or the regular season, like was just that really good defensive play he made. Remember that where he like backtracks?
Robert Thomas, St. Louis.
Yeah, against the Blues.
Yeah.
Robert Thomas. Yeah,
right. But I don't remember
Suck it,
like
Blues.
any big moments from him throughout the year. So I think B- is good. I think he just kind of fell back to what he probably was at the end of the day. Like, we know he's not a 100-point guy every year, but it was also his 3rd most productive season as an NHLer in his 11th year. So you can't be too disappointed with what he did. Still contributes he's the only top 6 forward that contributes in all aspects of the game. I think he's such a huge asset. I love Nuge. We all love Nuge. So Yeah, I think B minus is probably suitable. Did he he had a long stretch where he didn't score a goal, right?
He had a
Yeah.
really long cold streak last season, which was part of my grade as well. Like the consistency wasn't quite there for Nuge last year, but again, the numbers were still really, really good. Someone said he stopped shooting the puck. His shot total fell from 201 to 183, so he shot the puck about 10% less than he did the year before. His shooting percentage also fell basically in half, from 18.4 to 9.8. So I do think his career shooting percentage is a 12. He should bounce back pretty nice next season. I think 25 goals is a realistic and a good range for him every year. For his playoff grade, I gave him a B plus, and now I'm kind of thinking maybe that was too light. He did have 22 points in 25 games, and he had some big moments. He scored a goal for the Oilers in Game 7 against the Vancouver Canucks. He had that big 2-goal performance against the Dallas Stars in Game 5 of the Western Conference Final. Like, if Nuge doesn't have that performance in Game 5, maybe the Oilers don't even make it past Dallas. If he doesn't score that goal against Vancouver, maybe they don't even make it past Vancouver. So I'm now being tempted to upgrade that to maybe an A minus, just because the production was good. And you can point to 2 moments specifically where you go, whoa, they needed him and he came through.
Yeah, I thought he was solid in the playoffs. 22 points, 25 games, I think he ended up finishing with. So I think B plus A minus is probably a fair range, to be honest. I don't think you're too far off. Just consistently consistent, wasn't he? You got everything you wanted out of him. So very happy with Nuge. As you pointed out, he came up in big moments for them. Game 6 as well against Vancouver. I know that game was a bit of a blowout, but still 3 points in a game is always solid. He scored. Didn't he score the opening goal of the playoffs, or am I thinking incorrectly?
I thought that was
Scored
Henry.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Either way, scored in that game. So
Yep.
Yeah, B plus, A minus. The Nuge was huge. His playoff performances done really well last 3 years, actually.
Yeah, he has. My only complaint is he had 2 points in the Stanley Cup final and only 1 goal. So again, that probably does need to hurt his grade a bit. So maybe B plus is B plus is probably a pretty solid grade here for the Nuge. I think a lot of you in the chat kind of agree with that as well. Not one of their top 2 players. No one's saying he even has to be, but he's an important part of the team. The PK stuff is absolutely massive, and this year I just want to see him shoot the puck a little bit more and have a bit more consistency with the offense. So there's our player grade for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Liam, let's wrap up the show with our Bet365 other sports report. Bet365, the largest sports betting platform globally. You can sign up today, download the app, and get in on a huge range of markets by using the promo code Oily Bonus. That's the promo code Oily Bonus when you sign up today at Bet365. Couple areas I want to go to with the other sports report. First up, baseball-wise, our pal Eric Sabrowski, still up now. It's been a full week of him being on a major league roster, which is fantastic stuff. But the Cleveland Guardians haven't put him in a game yet to pitch, and it is driving me nuts. Every time they play, I got the alerts on, so I know when runs are being scored in the game. I'm dialed into it. Yesterday, they were up 7-1 in the top of the 8th. They had to get 6 more outs against the Royals, and I was like, this is it. This is perfect. This is exactly when you go with Eric Sabrowski, someone to make their major league debut. When you're up by 6 runs, they didn't go to him. So Cleveland Guardians, I'm pissed off at you. Put my boy Eric in the game. I want to see him pitch. And that's
Is
it.
that normal?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. He's on the roster still after a week, so clearly they like him to some extent. They just haven't found a good enough spot. The first day he was called up, he started warming up in the bullpen, and then since then it just hasn't worked out. I guess they played in some tight ball games, so like those ones I understand, but there's been a couple blowouts where they definitely could have thrown him in and they haven't. So that's frustrating. Maynard, I thought the Jays might get to 500, but it's no longer looking like it. I mean, all I care about for them is that the kids keep hitting well and that they continue to lose ball games, because I want them to have a better chance at picking first overall. So that's where I'm at with the Jays. I'm not really watching the results. They were up 6-1 after the first inning last night and blew it and still lost to the Philadelphia Phillies. Frank was texting me about it. Gross. He's a Phillies fan. But yeah, I don't really care about the Jays anymore. The other big thing in sports is obviously the NFL season gets going tomorrow, Liam. So I tasked you with giving me, and Aaron as well, one bold prediction for the NFL season.
Go on, Aaron. I'll let you give yours first.
Okay, mine. I think this is bold, and I'm going to say Sam Darnold passes for 4,000 yards. Is that bold enough?
Whoa, I think that is very, very, very
Currently
bold.
plus 320 on Bet365 to throw for 4,000 yards.
Wow.
I don't think he's as bad as everybody says he is. And he's got JJ. He's got Jordan Addison. We'll get Hawkinson. That's a scalding hot take.
That is scolding hot.
That is very, very bold. Liam, do you have one? I didn't go that bold.
Well, what's yours?
Mine was make or miss the playoffs. I am looking at one team in particular, and I am going with the New York Jets to miss the playoffs. Listen, is this a homer pick? Absolutely, it's a homer pick. I'm not saying it's not, but every year with my Buffalo Bills, we do the same thing for the last 3-4 seasons. It's like, oh, you look out. I remember a few years ago, the Patriots are still going to be good, and then they weren't. And then it was like, oh, the Dolphins are coming. The Dolphins are going to win that division easily, and then they weren't. And then it was, oh, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Look out, they're really good. And I know he got hurt, but every year people are trying to discount the Bills. The Bills are still going to win that division, plus 170. Take it on Bet365, but I think it's about plus 150 for the Jets to miss the playoffs, and I think they're going to miss.
There was another bet I liked on Bet365 was, this is not my bold take, but it was Houston to win their division. It was even money or like plus 120 or something. Yeah. And I think Jacksonville are a good team and they're going to push for a playoff spot, but I think Houston is pretty loaded this year. Like, I know Stephon Diggs isn't the player he used to be, but he might be their third best receiver, which is a good thing to have as well. My bold pick, and I've heard some podcasts talk about this, so I'm just going to steal it straight from them. I wonder if the Dolphins could miss the playoffs this year.
100% they could.
So I think I'll go with that one. And my other one, because their schedule is fairly light, so it's not like too bold, but I think the Falcons could win over 11 games this year.
11?
Their schedule sucks. And then they have the easiest schedule in the league. That division is brutal. They might have 6 wins guaranteed just playing the teams in that division. So to win 6 more, like, might not be too much of a stretch. So maybe 11's high, but if we're doing bold, whatever, 10, 11, something like that. But to start the year, they might go 0-2, to be honest. So they have the Eagles and the Chiefs, but then they have New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Carolina, Seattle, we'll see, Tampa Bay, Cowboys, New Orleans, Denver, LA Chargers, like Vikings, Giants, Washington. This is a terrible schedule.
All right, I'm going to give every... Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
They'll be what Miami were last year.
Fair. People are saying Seattle could turn heads. I actually kind of agree with that. I don't think Geno Smith doesn't get enough respect. He can ball, man. And I like that Seattle team a bit. What else do we got? Oh, I wanted to give my... Oh, what, Aaron?
I got a bet for you. Josh Allen is plus 170 to throw for 4,000 yards. He has done that easily in his last 4 straight seasons. I get he lost some receivers, but it's Josh Allen at plus 170. I'm smashing that.
I like that one. What else? Oh, my division winner parlay. I like doing one of these every year. I got 4 teams to win their divisions, a couple of safe ones, and then a risk. All right, Liam?
Okay.
Your Detroit Lions, they'll win that division. Buffalo Bills, plus 170, put them in the parlay. I like that Texans play at plus 100. And then I'm mixing in the LA Rams at plus 375 to win their division over the San Francisco Giants. Or San Francisco 49ers.
Giants.
Sorry. What? Comes in at 55 to 1. 55 to 1. I don't mind that.
Well, that is a risky one.
Just need the Rams. It's a good bet. I
What
like
was
it.
it?
I think the Rams are going to be good this year.
Yeah, I think they'll be good too. Good enough to lose to the Lions again. Sorry, what did you have? The Bills, the Rams, Texans, and Lions?
Yeah, this right here.
I wonder if you could just mix the Falcons in, but then you wouldn't get that high.
Oh, dude. You throw the minus 130. It takes it to almost 100 to 1 if you throw in the Falcons. 5-leg division winner.
Falcons are an absolute lock to win that division, to be honest.
That division's always just such a crapshoot. I don't know.
But Kirk Cousins is good.
Kyle Pitts is already hurt.
He is.
That's not helpful. But Bijan Robinson, they actually have an a good offensive system now. Like, I don't know. I like the Falcons.
All right, we got to wrap this bad boy up. Maybe we'll do a little NFL pick'em on Friday. Maybe we'll make that a part of the show going forward.
We should have done a survivor pool.
Ah, darn. I always like doing one of those.
We still could
We
do
still
it.
have time.
We still could do it on Sleeper.
We got a draft.
Okay, quickly in the chat. If we set one up for tomorrow's game, would anyone join? Don't know if there's a prize yet.
We'll figure it out. All right, we got to wrap this bad boy up. Liam, appreciate it. Boys, good work today. Everyone in the chat, you were great. Greta Bar YEG YouTube chat. We're going to be back on Friday with another edition of the show. Look forward to seeing you all then. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And as always, oil up.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit Oilersnation.com.